Hey guys, so in this video we're going to talk about the new shotgun meta and the most optimal loadouts after patch 9.30. If you haven't seen the new changes yet, then you're truly in for a treat. Epic somehow did it again, and they made all my other loadout videos irrelevant by completely shaking up the loot pool. Luckily for us though, they actually changed it for the better this time. Epic unvaulted the pump, suppressed SMG, shockwave grenades, and the revolver. These unvaultings literally came out of nowhere, but they are not, and I repeat, are not part of the 14 days of summer. This means the pump and all those other guns are here to stay for good. On top of everything Epic unvaulted, they decided to vault the Rift to Go, the blue tactical AR, impulse grenades, and pirate cannons. Nothing too insane there, but lastly, they made balance changes to the TAC, the burst SMG, semi-auto sniper, tactical AR, drum gun, flintlock pistol, minigun, and infantry rifle. That may sound like a lot, but trust me, it's really not, and I'll break it all down for you guys later in the video. Right now though, I'll throw some timestamps on the screen for each different new weapon or gun category that I cover. If you really want a good grasp on the current best loadouts and guns to rock, then I recommend watching the whole video through. So let's start with the biggest and most important topic at hand, the combat shotgun versus the pump shotgun. Up until Tuesday, when patch 8.30 dropped, the combat was unmatched by any other weapon, especially up close. It was, and still is, better than the tactical shotgun in basically every way imaginable. It's better from up close, it's better from range, it has a faster fire rate, it even reloads faster for God's sake. If you didn't have a combat shotgun, you were a dead man walking. Even with the blue tack, you stood no chance against anyone who had a combat shotgun, and the worst part about it was how hard they were to find. Then, out of absolutely nowhere, Epic unvaulted the pump shotgun. The same pump they vaulted at the start of Season 9, no nerfs or buffs, the good old reliable pump that we've all been missing and crying on Twitter for. But how does it stack up in the current meta? After a few days of using it, I could confidently say that the pump is viable and is much better than the TAC. At first, it was a little weird getting used to the pump again, just because of how different it is than the TAC in the combat. The pump is a single fire shotgun, so you can't just blindly spray people down like you did before. You also need to position yourself differently because it's best from up close. The closer you are to your opponent, the more likely you are to hit more pellets and do more damage. The last big difference you'll notice when using it is that you need to get used to swapping to another weapon again after you shoot your shotgun. With the combat and the TAC, you do more damage by not swapping and instead shooting multiple shots. With the pump now, that time in between shots is way too long to not be doing anything. Yes, you can and you should be building after you shoot your pump to give yourself protection as well as more time to shoot again. But when you're in someone's face and you want to secure the kill, you gotta swap straight to your SMG or your AR. Is the pump better than the combat though? That's what everyone wants to know. The pump and the combat are both very good, and they're both very good at doing different things. A lot of what you should choose should be based on your playstyle. If you're an aggressive player who likes W-keying and pushing like a maniac, the pump should be your go-to shotgun. It's the only weapon in the game that can do this. The pump is the scariest weapon to be up against up close simply because it's capable of one-shotting you. If you're at 2 HP and your opponent is trying to replace your wall, you'd rather have a pump over a combat. If you're on low ground in an arena game with people everywhere and someone drops you on top of them, that's where the pump shines. I guarantee we'll see the pump used in competitive a lot because of how important box fighting is in tournament matches. When it comes to box fighting, the pump is definitely better than the combat. In box fighting, you're basically always 1 or 2 walls away from your opponent, which means you're constantly in the range where the pump is at its best. The pump also has a faster pullout time after editing, which is huge for quickly getting off a shot after replacing a wall. And lastly, you usually only get 1 opportunity and 1 shot on your opponent while box fighting, like if you were to get into their 1x1 or steal their wall. So you always want the highest amount of damage possible, which is exactly what the pump provides. But other than those up close situations, which a lot of the time you can avoid, the combat is better. The combat has ridiculous range, and when you're on high ground in a scrim or an arena game, the combat will outshine the pump every single time. You could hit people for more than 60 damage from like 7 or 8 blocks away with a combat, while with a pump you'd be lucky to do 10. The combat is also very good up close and arguably better than the pump if you don't get one shot. Just think about it. If you and your opponent are face to face, he has a pump and you have a combat. If he hits you with a body shot, that does 100 damage with a blue pump and 95 with a green pump. Then he'll switch over to an SMG, which will take another 4 shots to kill you. By the time he even pulls out the SMG and gets maybe 1 shot off, you'll have enough time to hit them with 3 or potentially even 4 shots with the combat. 3 chest shots with the combat and you're dead no matter what health or shield you're at. Let's also not forget how tight the spread on the combat is, meaning if you're capable of hitting your shots, you can easily 2-shot people. It obviously doesn't feel as good as hitting a juicy 200 damage pump, but it's a lot more reliable. If you miss with the pump, you either have to build or swap to another weapon and spray. With the combat, you have another 2 or 3 more tries to hit a shot. The combat also reloads 2 bullets at a time, has a larger clip, and frees up another slot in your inventory. With a pump, you need another weapon to swap to, while with a combat, you could take more heals, utility, mobility, or whatever else you can find. When you have a combat and you go up against someone with a pump, just stand your ground and keep some space in between you two. The combat is a lot more versatile because of how good it is from range and from up close. The pump, on the other hand, is only good from up close, which forces people to rush and to build at you like a madman in order to get into its effective range. To make it even more clear, I'm always going to be taking a combat over a pump. Until Epic nerfs how good the combat is from up close, which they'll honestly probably do because it's still way too strong, the combat is overall better than the pump. The pump is not bad though, it's actually pretty good and balanced. It's way better than the TAC, and you actually stand a chance against the combat if you play the fight correctly, which is something that you cannot say if you have a TAC shotgun. All in all, the TAC still sucks. It did apparently get a buff, something like its headshot multiplier increased by 0.25, but it still cannot one-shot people, which makes it useless while the pump is in the game. The pump is the second best shotgun option you have, and if you're confident it suits your playstyle, then use it. To me, the combat still reigns supreme. It's just way too good and versatile. It's got way better range, it's more consistent, and I just don't see a reason for taking the pump over it other than the off chance that you hit a 200 damage headshot. Now let's talk about all the other big weapon changes and guns that were unvaulted. My favorite item in the world, Mega Impulses, were unvaulted, which is a really good change overall. Regular impulses were honestly pretty useless and didn't fulfill the whole point of an impulse grenade. With Mega Impulses though, you can use them to rotate in endgames, impulse yourself off high ground without taking fall damage, or just to make a crazy play on someone 20 feet away from you. The Rift to Go was vaulted, so rotations will definitely be harder, but I feel like the Mega Impulses make them a little more fair because you don't just press a button and pop out of the sky anymore like you would with a Rift to Go. The other big weapon Epic added this patch was the new Epic and Legendary Revolvers. It's very similar to the hand cannon, but the weird part is the hand cannon is still in the game. The new revolver takes medium ammo, which is also pretty weird, but it hits like a truck, which is its selling point. It hits for 66 to the body and has a headshot multiplier of 2, meaning you can really destroy people like we see Tfue does here. Epic tried to buff the burst SMG by increasing its damage and making it more accurate while jumping or sprinting, but with the suppressed SMG back in the game, there's no reason you should ever pick up the burst. Luckily, Epic is actually making it easier for us to do that because they heavily decreased which was to the heavy assault rifle or the AK. They increased its base damage by 2 for every variant, so I think it's actually pretty decent now. I think depending on what you prefer, you can take the heavy AR over the normal AR now, especially the blue one. With the blue heavy AR, you can hit headshots with it for 84 now, and it has a 25 round magazine, so definitely start experimenting with it more. The last kind of important gun change that Epic made was again nerfing the drum gun, which I kind of felt was unnecessary. They decreased its clip size from 50 to 40 and its fire rate from 9 to 8. I honestly thought it was in a decent place after they nerfed its base damage, like the whole point of it is to be an annoying spray weapon. After this nerf, I'm going to be picking up the suppressed SMG over the drum, but the drum is still better than the pea shooting burst SMG. For loadouts, the main change in what you should run will be decided by which shotgun you're using. If you're going to use a combat, all you really need is an AR, and then you'll have 3 open slots for utility and meds. If you're running a pump though, you usually want to run an SMG with it to swap to after you get a shot off. The only time that I would run 2 weapons with a pump would be when the other gun is a gold scar. Otherwise, you need an SMG. You'll use the SMG to pressure people and to clean up kills, which you really can't do with a heavy AR or an infantry rifle. For scrims and arena, I'm definitely going to be stacking Mega Impulses for rotations. You can use them to disengage, to start fights, and most importantly, to blow through builds and to get to circle. I'm a little hesitant overall on the new revolver. I think it can be good after you swap from a pump, but a suppressed SMG is just so much more reliable. Overall though, your loadout should revolve around whether you're running a combat or a pump. In my opinion, the combat is better overall, but the pump is still way better than the TAC, and it's extremely useful in close range and box fights. So, if this video helped you guys out, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and to turn on post notifications. Thank you to everyone using code Jarian. To be featured in the shoutout, all you have to do is just send me a picture of you using my code to my Twitter or Instagram. Otherwise, that's it from me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.